Well, good afternoon, all those who may be watching or who will see this video. I am here at Park Place, and to my right is Dr. Griffin, who's one of the head doctors here, and I'm here doing my career interview project. So I just want to thank Dr. Griffin for taking this time to out of your busy schedule to do this interview with me. It means a lot. So I just have a couple of questions with you.
Sure.
First of all, this is a career that I'm very interested in and I'm very passionate about. So this is more than just a school project, but I was looking forward to this, to kind of pick your brain
Sure.
about what the day-to-day activities are.
Yeah, very happy to work with you and hopefully answer your questions best I can. And hello to everyone as well.
Thank you. Well, my first question is, what is your current job title or position, and how long have you been in this role?
I am the clinical director here at Park Place. I've been here for 15 years. I've been in this role. I've been a clinical director since 2005, 13 years, but I have had in that role I've had different departments that I've been over. So I've overseen just about every department we have here, but I currently oversee all of our outpatient therapy departments and our inpatient therapy departments, as well as a couple other little things along the way.
Oh wow! So you've kind of been a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you land this position that you're currently in?
So I came here in 2003 as my internship for my doctorate in psychology. So I moved here from Atlanta, thought I'd be here a year, fell in love with the place and the team and just everyone, loved the work, stayed on for my postdoc and never left.
Oh wow!
So that kind of stepping stones along the way to the position.
It's interesting how that happens. You make your plans, but then things change once you realize, wow, I really like this. I really like the environment, the ambiance. Okay, so that leads. I'm glad that you said that, because that leads me to my next question. What do you enjoy the most about your job?
It's kind of a combination of things. I love the team that I work with. I love that, I think sometimes in our field we take for granted that we're saving lives. We're working with people. People come in here, every day is a new day. Everybody's story is different. I love meeting people. Unfortunately, sometimes it's the darkest days of their life.
Right.
But that also gives you a lot of hope, because that's what we're instilling with them. And I just love that. I feel like every day when I go home I can say I did something that made a difference, and I did it with a team of people that I really just enjoy, and a lot of whom I very much envy and appreciate.
That's beautiful. It's awesome to hear. Just to take a pause here, I'm glad that it's also awesome to see that you had that perspective, dealing with situations that are dark. I don't know if that's an appropriate way a term to use, and you see it in that way. I'm here to try to be a guide to get you through this. Do you work in a team? Well, you answered that question already, but if you want to elaborate a little bit more on it, do you work in a team or independent environment?
So sure, it's very team driven. We use a treatment team model here. We staff cases with clinicians, so you have therapists, social workers. On my inpatient side, you have the medical provider, as well as nursing, people that are behavior techs, so they're what I call the front line. They're with the clients constantly. So it's very team driven. I have had a private practice on the side before, and it gets kind of lonely in private practice sometimes. There's a nice advantage to you make all the rules, but you also take all the risk, and you also, like today, if someone were to come in and see me or one of my colleagues, and they're really feeling like they have very little choices and they're contemplating taking their life, we have a team that jumps in. When that happens to you in private practice, I can tell you it's a lot more stressful and a lot more concerning on how do I get more, resources to connect with this person.
I'm glad you said that because, in this career path that I'm taking, the goal for me was to have a private practice.
Yeah.
But now that you say that, you're making me rethink it.
Well, good news is it's early enough for you to think about it. I think I love the private practice, but my advice to people that go into practice, and a lot of my team and friends work in private practice as well, or there's a lot of students that come here and that's what their goal is. I say mine was too, and it was that way even when I had it. And then I realized that I kind of like this team, and you don't know what you like till you try, right?
Right.
And if you do go into private practice, make sure you connect with other individuals. I don't think we ever should stop having consultation and supervision with others.
Right.
And the people that are really successful in private practice, they do that with other private practitioners too.
That's good. That's great insight that you're giving me. Thank you so much. My next question is, how does this style, you answered this, this style impact your work, meaning working with others can be challenging, supportive, helpful, frustrating, and working independently can be lonely, which you touched on that, empowering or difficult.
Yeah. Well, and I think all those things, if we're really being honest, are our times. I would be lying if I said that every moment of every day I'm happy with everyone I work with too. I mean, it's like family. You're gonna have moments of time where you're just like, but our job is to take a deep breath, use the same things we teach other people. Say, let's take a moment, breather, come back, ready to solve the problem.
Right.
It's a give and take. But I wouldn't trade it. I really wouldn't. I love it. I don't think we ever stop learning, and we learn from one another. You have to be open. We have a lot of students that come here that are med students as well, and I learn from them, and they learn from me, and it's just a great reciprocal relationship. So.
I have a good friend of mine that once said, if the moment you stop learning is the moment you stop living.
That's right.
So,
yep, I believe it.
Okay, so what do you like the least about your job?
The least, I would say, those times when you really feel like you've tried everything and the person doesn't seem to be getting better. It can become overwhelming, especially when you see that person, they've come, let's say, into our crisis unit, which means that they were either at risk to themselves or others, and they come back again. Our goal is to try to keep people from coming, but if they do go in there, we don't want them to come back into that level of care. We want to get them well in the community. And when you see them come, and we have a handful of people that will come, and they come back and forth. Some people call it that revolving door, and it gets heartbreaking, it gets frustrating, and I think part of the important thing to remember in this field is that we never can give up. You never want to give up, but you also have to have realistic expectations. And so sometimes maybe I'm not the person that can be the help. I need to go back to that team and say, can we look at this differently? Can you give it a try? Can you work with this person? Or I just don't know what's happening, and that's the part that gets frustrating sometimes.
It sounds like some situations can be very humbling.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And to have to say, okay, hey, Susan or Tom or Bill, can you give me your insight on this? It's a humbling for me just hearing you.
Yeah.
Arrogance would cause you to hit a wall.
Yeah. Everyone I interview for any job here, humility is a requirement. It's like, I think you can get a lot of people that can mark down on the sheet, I've had this experience, I've had this experience. And you can train most people to work within your system with your software and with your type of therapy and the environment. But those traits of humility, that's a hard thing. So I think, one of those keys to being a good therapist or psychologist or social worker in this field is that ounce of humility. You can have confidence in what you're doing, but you need to be receptive and know that, you know, what the people come and they tell you, you need to work collaboratively. You're not the expert, quote unquote. You need to work with them, and you need to work with your team and be willing to say, I'm wrong too.
That's that's not easy for sometimes for our human nature to do, but this is great. I'm really enjoying this interview. Just a couple more questions. What was your major in college?
So I started, ironically, as early childhood education major, and I was going to be a teacher. I wanted to teach kindergarten, and
wow.
And you had to take a psychology course for that, and then I took the intro psych, and I was like, well, wait a minute. So I started double majoring. Before you know it, kind of switched and stayed in psychology, and then got my degree as a psychologist in clinical psychology.
Wow, well, that's incredible. Elementary education,
Yeah.
and here you are at this facility. But I guess you won't know unless you try. You know, you gotta.
I said when I got my degree, my bachelor's rather, I said I don't want to work with kids who have been survivors of abuse. I just can't do it. I can't do it. And I sat for 6 months with no job, wondering how I was going to pay the bills, right? And so I went to a job fair, and it just was a connection with the human resource person from an agency whose sole job was providing counseling and treatment to survivors of child abuse. And so I took the job, you know, because I needed to eat. And I realized it was a calling, and I never looked back, you know.
Wow.
But it's funny, you just never know.
You just never know. This is incredible. Just my last question. Please describe your career path to this current job. And I think you touched on that a little bit.
Yeah. So picking up where I left off, you know, so I was working as a counselor at a place in Georgia where we saw children that were up to the age of 11 or 12 who were survivors of physical and sexual abuse. And someone said to me, you really love this, you should go back and get your master's. So I said, yeah. And they're like, you know, you give it a thought. So I did, and I submitted. Next thing you know, I got into a program, and when I interviewed, it was an opportunity. It was Argosy University in the Atlanta campus. And I interviewed for the master's program, and they said, have you ever given consideration for your doctorate? And I was like, well, I don't know about that, right? And they said, well, we have a dual track program, and we think you'd be good, and we'd like you to consider it. So I did, and then it came time for internship. I applied all over the nation, went all over the nation and interviewed, and they have a matching program that's done by computer. You rank your top places, and the places that interview people rank, and I got matched here, and that's where I've been ever since.
Oh, so this wasn't something. This location wasn't something that you.
So you pick you interview,
right.
But so you know the average number of interviews is 10 to 15 places, okay, all over, and then you rank them in order 1 to 15. Meanwhile, every place they rank the people they interviewed, and the computer determines the best possible match. And some people get matched, and some people don't. And I got matched here, and I was like, man, Disney World, that's awesome. And yeah. Didn't know when I moved here I wouldn't make enough to go there at first, you know, and then you settle in after that first year, and then you graduate and you do well, and it's been great. I love what I do, and I get a great reward in all kinds of ways.
Your story as you continue to share with me these details, it's like the path was already set for you, and you just had to find it, but. It's incredible, but you know, just from outside looking in, you know, I've always admired people who go ahead and work in this field, because it takes a lot of love and, you know, seeing, I guess, the potential that people have to come out of, you know, a dark place in their life. You know, and we all go through tragedies.
Absolutely.
And you know, and you know, you don't know me, I don't know you, but we all have our story.
Right.
But it's just amazing. So I want to thank you,
Sure,
Dr.
absolutely.
Griffin,
I very much
and
enjoyed.
for
Thank you.
doing this interview with me. And thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.